Hey friends! Today we're here with a favorite of children everywhere, honeysuckle. Hailing from Japan. It's just such a familiar plant that if we come in closer we can see the medicine that we are drawn to using. But first let's just look at the botany a little bit. But yeah, the leaves are arranged opposite one another along the stalks, and they have a central vein, and they have like really organized protruding veins out from the central vein and a beautiful little elongate pattern with a point at the end. And then we're just looking really closely at the flowers here, which we can shift. And the flowers have a pretty prominent stamen, and then they turn into this deep buttery yellow, almost ghee colored flower gone by. So all the flowers are a really incredible remedy for cooling down the body when we have a cough, when we really need an expectorant, and there's pus involved, also known as mucus when we're talking about a cough. So we take the flowers and we create a syrup from them, which is basically a pretty simple process. So today we would spend some time with this plant, really not affecting it much at all, because we'd be asking for the flowers, and I can already see a lot of the flowers are turning into the berries. So if you recall, like over fall and even through the winter on a honeysuckle, the berries are this almost like snow cone red color, like candy cherry, and the birds don't really even rely on them very much. So you'll notice a large woody shrub that holds a lot of its berries, and they're doubled up, the honeysuckle berries. And they seem to have like a little outlet at the end, like a little belly button. So you'll start to notice them. If you notice where your honeysuckle bushes are around you, just take note and you'll see as the berries come on. Right now they're very dense and green and tiny, and then they'll expand as the fall comes in. So today, yeah, I would just be looking closely at the lovely flowers, which you can see why the berries would be double, because the flowers are double, right? They come out from their origins as twinsies. And so we've got the double berries that will come out of that. So, Lonicera japonica, may I take your flowers? And I would just collect these. You'll notice there's way more than 10. And I'm also going to focus on collecting some of the yellowish colored flowers, the butter colored flowers. I'm going to leave them in a basket to dry before I boil them into a tea and reduce it by 3/4 and add equal parts of a local raw honey, because that's really going to help as well with the expectorating and the anti-inflammatory quality. Yeah, I did want to say just that I'm on the edge of a river and a forest, and that's really where Lonicera likes to live. Not too far into the woods, really haven't seen it, but maybe where a path has been formed, or on the edge of the yard where it sort of starts to turn wild, is really where it kind of pops out and can really take over. It just loves it here. It gets really big. I've had Lonicera fall over. It just starts growing towards the sun and creating a huge habitat for itself. So it's a hardy plant. It's a really useful plant. All the above ground parts are used, but today we're just talking about the flowers. And it's really quite beautiful too, and abundant. So it's an antiviral, and it has this indication for heat in the body. So it's specifically indicated for inflammation of the lungs. There's 3 things that it does. It's an antipyretic, so it can lower the fever. It's a refrigerant, so just like a refrigerator, it helps us to maintain our coolness. So I'm gonna think of, like, when I'm farming, I'm gonna try to pop this in my water and see if it can help me. This is my own little experiment. A couple years ago, I got some heat exhaustion when I was out farming, and now I really can't like control my thermostat. I just get too hot too fast if I'm not careful. So I think I'm gonna put some of these flowers in my water bottle and just see if it adds any effect as a refrigerant. And then also, it's indicated in infections and common colds, and associated with fever and thirst, lowering the fever, also lowering swellings and inflammations, and it appears to be a safe expectorant for asthma patients. So thinking of the lungs, it's a real ally for the lungs, and it's also a real ally for the GI. So if there's any inflammation in the GI simultaneously with the lungs, this might be a great tea for you. You want to dry the flowers first. You know, there's some clinical research out of China where in traditional Chinese medicine, you know, a recorded 5,000-year history, we've seen Lonicera being used for what we now call, you know, very generically, coronaviruses. And I'm not saying that Lonicera is helpful or even a cure for COVID-19, but in general for coronaviruses, it is used as a syrup or as part of a TCM formula to help aid this type of issue. There's heat, there's inflammation of the lungs, there's a virus, it's a virus, so we're seeing a lot of its actions all used at once. Yeah, enjoy nibbling your honeysuckle, and they certainly do shrink quite a bit when they dry, so good luck finding abundant bushes. Be well and stay well.